That, we like to run a tight ship.
Yes, so.
All right, welcome everyone here and online to the February 19th Planning and Development Subcommittee of the Gloucester City Council. I'm the chair, Jason Grove, City Councilor at Large. To my left is Val Gilman, the vice chair, and also an at-large city councilor. We've got Sal Frontiero here at the table to give a presentation. We have some folks in the audience. I'm supposed to say that the public is welcome to attend in person. I've got to change this, Val, because it's not right. Obviously, if you're online, you've already got the idea that the Zoom link is open and ready to go. If there are any technical difficulties, we will attempt to regain connection with the Zoom call, but after a heroic try, we're not obligated to continue with that. So we will continue in person. There are a couple of matters to be continued tonight. Rezoning 2025-001 City Council Order 2025-006, amend GZO's Chapter 3 Dimensional Regulations by adding new Section 3.1.9 change of use without exterior changes. Will be, as what was continued from February 3rd, will be continued until we hear back from the planning board. So at least till the 5th of March. Rezoning 2025-002, amend Gloucester zoning ordinance by adding new section 5-21 demolition delay. Likewise, that will be continued until we hear back from the planning department. And three, a letter from St. Peter's Fiesta Committee requesting permission to use St. Peter's Park and Roger Street from June 25th to April 9th, 2025. That will be continued until we hear from the Special Events Activities Committee. We are not canceling Fiesta, just so you know. Do you have a question? Ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
All right, we've got one item on the agenda tonight. Special Council Permit 2025-002, Washington Street, number 964, map 139, lot 24. Gloucester zoning sections 2.3.1 residential uses, subsection 7, conversion to or new multifamily or apartment dwelling. 4 to 6 dwelling units, 3.2.2 dimensional requirements for multifamily dwellings and accessory uses other than signs. Footnote A, RE, a minimum lot area, open space per dwelling unit, and 3.1.6B, building heights in excess of 35 feet for the conversion to a 4-family dwelling unit in the R20 district. And with that, I will turn the presentation over to Sal Frontiero. You can introduce yourself for the record, and let's go.
Sure. Salvatore Fortero, 46 Middle Street, Gloucester, for HB Development Corp., the owner. With me is Joe Barrett, the site manager, and Rose Barrett, the secretary for the corporation. This site is located in the Bayview, Lanesville section of Gloucester, depending how you define that, near the UMass Marine Station on the westerly side of Washington Street. It's in the R20 zoning district at the corner of Washington and Sanderson Court. It formerly housed a church that recently has fallen vacant and in dilapidated condition, and my client recently bought it. So we're here mainly to seek relief to convert to a 4-family use, and there's other ancillary relief necessary with that, as you stated. I don't know if you want to share the screen. If we
Yeah, let's why don't you get your plan up on the screen so we can figure that out. You should just be able to share your screen.
share it here.
It's sharing you.
Oh, okay, here, I got it.
Down at the bottom.
Yeah, I got it. Got it. This is, but I don't need any of this. Hold on. Give me a second. Yeah, where are we? Don't want any of these windows over this way.
Yeah, you don't want anything you don't want.
Did
seen.
you get on as a panelist?
Yeah, so I'm just having trouble getting to what I need to get to, so I don't know why. I want to get to my laptop screen, start menu. It's opening up all this other stuff. There's all these. Not working.
You're having trouble. I think I can share my screen.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not showing my laptop screen.
I don't really know how to do these things either.
Try it again one more time. To share.
There we are. Look at you.
All right, now, I don't know if I'm there yet, though. I gotta get off this. Get out of this. Sorry, and also this was open. All right, there we go. All right.
Perfect.
All right. So this is again for 964 Washington Street. Here is the site plan. It's at approximately almost a 12,000 square foot lot. There is a church right here, and then here's the Malinsky property, obviously the neighbor most affected right there. And this is the corner of Sanderson Court and Washington Street. So currently there's sort of a dirt parking area back here. And we have 6 compliant spaces here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then in the front, we have 2 compliant spaces here with the hammerhead turnaround. The only, as you see in red, most of the work is exterior, has to do with stonework and whatnot. And as I'll show later, there's some reconfigurations of windows and whatnot. And the only real construction here is the rebuilding of the rear deck in the back, the 3-decker rear deck that was there before that's getting rebuilt. This, and the petitioner recently purchased this, and after, you have to sort of open it up, the place determined that, he wanted to keep the church, but it's gonna be extremely difficult from a financial standpoint without having a 4-family. So, that's why we're here today. And the units are, we have 2 3-bedroom units, one on the first floor, one on the second, and we have 2 2-bedroom units that are 2-story on the 3rd and 4th floors. And that is, where's that? That's okay. That's unit 1. You can see that layout there. That's unit 2. Very similar layout. And there's unit 3, as you can see, and unit 4, the first floor of that. And you can see the deck on the back, that's the new part. And we have some new, obviously some reconfiguration of windows and some window wells. But the only major, if you want to call it that, addition is the second means of egress in the back with that deck. And when we do a site visit, you'll see that there used to be a deck there that has been taken down. I'm not sure when that was done. And then there's a second story of that same units 3 and 4. So we had to get zoning board of appeals relief before coming here. Let me go back to the site plan so we have that. Okay, so because of work in the law where when you change use to a different dimensional category, you lose all your legally grandfathered rights, we needed 10 forms of relief. The only ones that had to do with substance were really the encroachments on the left side yard setback, which were being extended in a linear fashion, not getting any closer to the lot line. And so we needed relief for that from a substantive standpoint. And we also needed relief for front yard setback parking. Our ordinance is still written such that you can't have front yard parking for anything other than a single and 2-family. Once you get into 3 or 4, you can't park in the front yard setback area. So we get a variance for that. Basically at that hearing, we had, let me go to the elevations real quick. I'll just show you those before I go on. That's what's going to change on the south elevation. See, it's an addition of doors and whatnot. And this is the north elevation. So that's on the right if you're looking from Washington Street. As you can see, reconfiguration of windows and window wells.
I'll stop you just for a quick second, just for clarification. The first unit is, you said, is that a ground level unit in the basement?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, there's a basement, yeah, but it's a basement unit. I think I've got to show you this one up here. And so there you can see the front and the back. Now those long windows on the side are there right now, but we showed them in red because we're putting the the window panes in. It's all one pane, I think, right now. So we're changing the look of that. But I think if you look at this, you'll see that it still does largely preserve the church look. And at the ZBA, we had 3 neighbors speak in favor and 2 in opposition, but all 5 said the same thing. We don't, we don't really like this, but we don't want to lose the church. I mean, that's been the main theme. Nobody wants to lose the church. So so we got all that relief we needed. That is now has been signed, is now in the 20-day appeal period. So those 10 forms of relief have been obtained. And as part of that, we worked with the neighbors quite a bit. As far as Tony Malinsky, which I showed you on the site plan, was the neighbor most affected. I'll back up to that now. I'll show you that.
You got a chance to look at the ZBA report, Val?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Malinsky being the neighbor most affected, we ended up coming to an agreement with her, which was incorporated into the ZBA decision. And right here, we're gonna put some cobblestones to mark the lot line. And she also wanted a granite stairway right here rebuilt, which we did. So, and that's gonna be, and also to maintain a fence there eventually. And what we also agreed to do was for the front, some of the opposition had to do with that hammerhead being used as parking. So we agreed to put a no parking sign there, and we agreed to incorporate that restriction as well as the fence too, into any condominium documents. It's most likely will be converted to condominiums. So that'll preserve that, in time when we put it in the condo docs. But those, as you saw in the decision, were specifically listed as conditions for this project. So then we applied to the council, obviously, and I'll move on to the actual relief. I don't know if you want me to stop sharing or just leave it there.
Just keep going.
First is a special permit to convert from single and two families, been used both over the years, to a 4-family use. Under section 2.3.4 of the zoning ordinance, the city council is allowed to, multifamilies are allowed by special permit. And under section 1.8.3, the council is authorized to issue such special permits for multifamilies, quote, upon a written determination that the proposed use will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance, and that it will not adversely affect the neighborhood, the zoning district, of the city to such an extent as to outweigh the beneficial effects. And as you know, there were formerly 6 factors, now there are 7, because we added in the flood. I'm not going to read those to you, I'll just go over them one by one. The first is the social, economic, and community needs that will be served by the 4-family use. I don't think I need to explain that we're in desperate need of housing in this city. We are far short, and the rents and the prices reflect that. And as I'll explain later, there are very few apartment choices in this area, very few at all. So allowing this relief will give renters or owners of condominiums the option to live in the Lanesville area, and it will give people an option to live there without the burden of having to maintain a home or maintain a yard. Particularly retirees and things like that. They want to maybe retire in Lanesville, or maybe they want to stay in Lanesville, but they want to downsize. And right now, there are extremely limited options, as I'll talk about later. And I think to a lesser extent, it'll lessen the disparity between sort of what the affluent people can afford and what others can afford. I'm not saying these are going to be low-end units, but compared to single-family homes, I think they'll be more affordable. So again, there's a huge disparity of lack of apartment housing in this part of the city. So I think it will be beneficial in that respect. As the traffic flow and safety, again, we're providing a total of 8 spaces. Only 6 are required for in the R20 zone for this type of use. That's why we sought the front yard setback relief, because we thought we would need to put as much parking as possible. In this day and age, people have more than 1 car, but it's 1.5 cars per unit right now, and so that would be 6, and we're providing 8. So it'll be less stress on we need to park on street. And also, again, the hammerhead turnaround will make it safer. Nobody has to back out onto Washington Street. We wanted to avoid that. That's a very dangerous situation. So 6 of the spaces, again, will be access via Sanderson Court. That is a sort of a narrow court with very few houses, but it's only the first 160 feet or so of that court before you reach the parking area. So it'll only be the very beginning of it that will see a little bit of increased traffic. And again, the other 2 spaces are accessed through Washington Street. And as far as Washington Street goes, I don't think 4 units that far down Washington Street is going to make much of a difference on traffic flow in Washington Street itself. So I don't think it'll cause any problems for traffic flow and safety. The next element is adequacy of utilities and public services. It'll be served by municipal water and sewer. All the other utilities are private. And as the public services, I think that the front yard is ample. The front yard parking area is ample enough to have emergency vehicles go in there if necessary, or ambulances and whatnot. I don't know any other detrimental effects on utilities or public services beyond what I mentioned. Regarding neighborhood character and social structure, this is a well-known and iconic beacon as you enter Lanesville. I think colloquially it's known as the Blue Church. So a lot of people know it. It's sort of what you see when you come into Lanesville. And again, even the people that spoke in opposition were clear that they wanted that church to stay. Everybody wants that church. It's part of the character of the neighborhood. And again, this facade will be changed to meet code, but you're still going to preserve the church character of that building. As you saw from the elevations. So the character of the building will remain the same. So we'll take a dilapidated, recently unused historic building and return it to its sort of former glory by making these apartments. So I think it would be in keeping with neighborhood character in that regard. As the qualities of the natural environment, this is not in a wetlands buffer zone. And if this relief is allowed rather than a tear down or rebuild, the disturbance of the lot will be minimal. And there's no need to accommodate a septic system. And I'm not aware of any other detrimental effects. There really is none here. Regarding fiscal impact, it's the same as most. We're going to create temporary construction jobs. And also the taxable value of the property will increase dramatically, particularly with 4 separate condo units. Obviously, that's worth more from an assessment standpoint than a single ownership of a 4-family. And also, there's a possibility the city may assess betterment privileges. They sometimes do that. I've seen them do that in the past. Where they, so in other words, you have a single family, if you add units, sometimes they say you're gonna pay a betterment sort
Is it a
of.
betterment?
Yeah, because you're adding units, yeah. I mean, they don't always do it. I'm not sure what triggers that, but there is a possibility of that happening, which would generate revenue. And lastly, as to vulnerability of flooding and flood damage, taking in consideration projections for sea level rise. This is well beyond any flood zone, although it is near the ocean, it's higher, much higher elevation. The elevation is anywhere from 50 to 52 feet. So even if the flood zones change in the future, this is not going to be affected. So I think for those reasons, the proposed four-family use will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance. And will not adversely affect the neighborhood, the zoning district, or the city to such an extent as to outweigh the beneficial effects of the use. So for that reason, we believe that the four-family special permit should issue. Next, I'm going to cover lot area per dwelling unit and open space per dwelling unit. And on this one, I kind of want to go to the end here. Slide. Okay.
I have any questions so far?
Just a quick question on utilities. So can you just elaborate a little bit more on that? Because you're gonna have,
You could probably elaborate more.
you're gonna have
Introduce
10
yourself.
10
Okay,
bedrooms now. so
my name is
just-
Joe Barrett, 12 Road, Marshfield, Mass. I'm the project manager. As far as the utilities, we have talked to Mike Hale a couple times. His main stuff was about
Your curb cut
the
permit.
curb cut. As far as the utilities, he didn't bring up anything other than anything for that. I think everything there is suitable for what we're trying to do.
Yeah, we did talk to Mike before coming here today.
Is it part of the step system or no?
I think it is, yeah. I think he said that, didn't he? Yeah, it is part of the step system. Yeah.
That's probably what your betterments are gonna be.
Yeah. So, again, for special permit for lesser lot area per dwelling unit, and open space per dwelling unit, pursuant to 2.3.1 footnote A, the city council is authorized to allow less than the required lot area per dwelling unit and open space per dwelling unit by special permit only upon a finding that such lesser lot area or open space is in keeping with neighborhood character and structural density. And this standard was sort of clarified in the Bevilacqua versus City of Gloucester case, which concerned the 8-family next to Richdale there in East Gloucester. And the court found there that, and when you're looking at lot area per dwelling unit and open space per dwelling unit, the court found that it's only appropriate to measure that against other multifamilies, and I think you can include 3 families in there. The reason is that singles and twos are governed by lot coverage. No such lot coverage requirement, and they're not governed by open space or lot area per dwelling unit. Whereas when you get into 3 or more, they are governed by that. Now, for some reason, 3 families are governed by both. You need a lot area per dwelling unit, and you need to not go over the maximum lot coverage. But when you get up to 4 and more, it's strictly lot area per dwelling unit, open space per dwelling unit, and that is done in lieu of lot coverage requirement. So the court thought it was appropriate to limit the comparison to those type of uses. And we worked with the assessor and had probably 200 or 300 properties printed out around there. And this is it. If you look at this screen, this is it. This is all that was there. And so if you look, the 4 or 5 are on side streets, okay? So they are not, they're not sort of on Washington Street. On Washington Street, all we have is 3 units to compare to. If you take the lot area per dwelling unit of all of those properties, it's 3,579 square feet. And if you take only Washington Street properties, it's 2,039 square feet. And the site has a proposed dwelling unit, a lot area per dwelling unit of 2,978 feet. As far as the open space goes, we have open space measured on this property, but we don't have it on other properties because it's, that lot area per dwelling unit is simple math. Open space per dwelling unit is going in and measuring things and things like that, so we can't invade other people's property. So what we did is I figured out our open space per dwelling unit is 35% of the lot coverage. So if we assume other properties are right in that range, then this will also be in the range of other properties in the area. So if we limit it to Washington Street, the average lot area per dwelling unit of those properties is 2,039 square feet. And using that 35%, again, it's somewhat arbitrary, but I'm hoping, trying to find a constant to use. The lot area per dwelling unit for the Washington Street property should be 714 square feet. Excuse me, the open space per dwelling unit. This property provides 2,978 lot area per dwelling unit square feet, which is greater than the 3 families in the area and less than the 4 and 5s. And the open space per dwelling unit is 1,035 square feet, which again is more than the three families, but less than the 4 and 5s. So it's right there in the middle, and I think it does fit in with the neighborhood character and structural density when compared to other properties there. Again, the issue is the dearth of 3 and multifamilies in on the Washington Street area, and I have a printout that, again, with hundreds of properties in the area, and I was actually surprised to learn that. I thought that area would have more. It only has those, 7 properties, and that's it. So as a result of that, we are seeking deviation. The requirement for lot area per dwelling unit is 10,000 square feet. And we are seeking 2,978 square feet for a deviation of 7,022 square feet. As far as open space per dwelling unit, the requirement is 7,500 square feet per unit. We're proposing 1,035 for a deviation of 6,464 square feet. Again, that may look like a large request on paper, but if you compare it to the appropriate properties in the neighborhood, it's really in keeping with that. Again, provides less than the 4 or 5 units, which are, there's obviously larger lots of these side streets, but providing greater than all of the other properties. And this lot is larger than all but the 4 and 5 family. This lot is almost 12,000 square feet. As you can see, the largest of the other lots for the 3 families is 7,800 square feet. So it's a little bit bigger than the ones on Washington Street. So I think for that reason, it is in keeping with neighborhood density. And lastly, we're seeking a special permit to exceed 35 feet in height. Under 3.1.6B of the zoning ordinance, the city council is authorized to allow building heights in excess of 35 feet by special permit upon a written determination that the allowable height is consistent with neighborhood character and will not be substantially detrimental to the neighborhood because of obstruction of views, overshadowing of other properties, or impairment of utilities or other adverse impacts. Now, this one's a bit illusory because, again, we lost all dimensional rights, and this tower is quite tall. It resulted in, as you know, this how the setbacks are measured for multis. It's 15 feet and then a foot for every foot above that. We had these enormous setback requirements, I think a little bit artificially, not what was intended by the ordinance, simply because of this existing steeple, which is wide enough to be counted in height. You know, we have an exception for very narrow ones. It's wide enough. So really, we're asking for relief for what already exists. So, you know, as far as detrimental effects, we have no change whatsoever in status quo when it comes to obstruction of views, overshadowing. It's going to be exactly the same. We are not changing the height. We're not changing the bulk of the building whatsoever. So I think for that reason, that relief should be allowed because we're not changing status quo. It's 30 foot allowed, existing, again, is 69.7 feet because of that. As you know, you measure the corners to the highest peak of the roof, and that steeple's the highest peak. So it's crazy. We're seeking relief 39.7 feet for that reason. Again, it looks like a large ask, but it's really simply because of losing legally non-conforming rights on height and then having to measure the current height with the steeple against what we have now at 30 feet. So it seems large, but it's really just an illusory request in some ways because it's just making legal that which already exists.
What's the height of the building without the steeple?
Good question. You have any idea on that, Joe? I think it's still probably tall. 30.
Well, the roof peak is 100.68 and the steeple is 124. So the steeple's 25 feet above the roof peak. So then we're looking at like 50, we're looking at 50 basically where everything else is. Which is
Yeah, the building, definitely the building is taller than 30 feet, sure. But it is a bit of an anomalous request because of the fact that steeple is factored in and causes that height request to be so large. In conclusion, I think the analysis we went over reveals that, you know, that this would have a net beneficial effect in the city and the Lanesville neighborhood. Partly and largely, one of the main reasons, again, is to allow this iconic church to stay. Again, Lanesville does not provide many apartment options. Again, if you wanted a senior couple who either wanted to move there or stay there, and didn't want to deal with, you know, yard work or upkeeping a building, that would be a perfect choice. But we don't have many of those examples there. And there is some precedent in Gloucester for this, St. Peter's to a lesser degree, but better example is the Wesleyan Church, right near St. Anne's Church. That is, you know, obviously a more densely populated neighborhood with looser structural requirements. That's our most liberal zone, R5. However, that has 15 units in it. It works. The sort of look of the church was maintained when that was done, and that's exactly what we want to do here. Those units took a bit longer to sell because they were some of them with 3-story units with a kitchen on one floor and a living room on another, so a little bit of an odd layout. We don't have that here. So I think that it's gonna be, beneficial to the area. And I think it's gonna, again, overall gonna be beneficial to the neighborhood and the city by allowing that iconic structure to remain. So it asks that all the relief be granted. Thank you.
Oh. Do you have any questions?
I haven't watched the Zoom meeting or the planning board meeting. Could you just summarize a little bit?
The ZBA?
The ZBA meeting?
Yeah, sure. So
In terms of what the 3 people liked and what the 2 people.
Yeah,
Is,
yeah, it was
That's all.
basically the people, most of the people that were in favor of the fact that this building has just been sitting there in rough shape for a long time. There's been like a preschool there over the years. There's been there was I think a theater company there for a short period of time, having theater practice. They wanted to see it come back to vibrance and back to productive use, and they wanted to see the church remain. The opposition was mainly based on, one of them had to do with upsetting the front yard, if I remember correctly. They wanted the vegetation to stay in the front yard. And they also, and then one person to the rear was concerned about the privacy of having those decks. And, we mentioned to the board, those decks were there before, and her house is rather distant. I don't think it's gonna be much of a
You call
privacy
that
issue.
one up, the other thing is, that's a secondary egress, though.
Yes, it is,
It's
yep.
required to have some aspect.
Yeah, you got it. So you want me to call it up?
Yeah, just take a quick look at where the decks are gonna go.
Yeah, so you see, it's actually, I said 3-decker, it's actually a 2-decker. So it's not up that high.
And where's the secondary egress for the basement?
That's on the side of the building, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I believe it's the west
Is
Is that what
side.
I'm seeing that pop out? of-
Yeah,
is
that's
that right?
that's a walkout.
Is that right there?
Yes.
So, okay. So it's
So one in the
those,
front, one in the back.
those 2 right there, right? Correct? Yeah. So, yeah, and then, one person was concerned about, the additional traffic flow on Sanderson Court, which is why I thought it was appropriate to mention that's not very far, I mean, there's houses way down the end. I don't know if the Tilton Hilton is down the end there, but
It is.
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Hilton,
you never heard of the Tilton Hilton? You've heard of that?
I was a ward counselor for 8
Really?
years too.
It's a building over on the water that leans.
Yeah,
You may have seen it from boat. It's known locally as the Tilton Hilton.
I'll have to go check, we'll check it out.
Yeah, so It's
Ring a bell?
yeah, it's iconic, sort of, again, iconic
Yeah,
from
right
Ocean
now.
View, but yeah, see, these out of towners know it, but it's
That's
funny.
pretty funny.
Yeah, it's called the Tilton Hilton. So there are very few houses on the street. So, but again, it's only the beginning of the road that would be burdened any further. And I believe the contractor, the owner plans on sort of improving that a little bit too, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
What was it?
Or Joe, about kind of improving that area of the road a little bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So
So
the neighbors were totally acceptable to
Is
this.
is
It's
it
a
paved
dirt.
at all? It's just all
it's
dirt?
dirt, but let me go back to the site plan for a
As
minute
soon as you
here.
get past it, it's pretty beaten up.
Yeah, it goes all the way down to the
Yeah.
water.
But if you see here, it looks like it's larger on the ground than it is larger on paper than it is on the ground, so it potentially could be widened and straightened a little bit, But again, it's only that, area from the beginning of the Malinsky property to the end of the Malinsky property. It's not very far at all. So that was the main areas of opposition. But again, even the opposition said, we don't want that church to go. We like that church. And we're trying our best to keep it.
So, I mean, not that we can, I don't think we can condition anything like this, but what happens if you get in there and decide that the steeple is in trouble or if there's structural issues?
So we've done some discovery in the building. We're pretty confident that we can save it. The guy didn't bring up anything about structurally, it's the problem or anything, so we're confident that we can save it, do the things that we want to do.
And one of the issues with it was the high ceilings on I mean, it's a beautiful building on the inside. That's why I would encourage you when you go out there to take a look at it. You can see, you really can't get a good idea of what the potential is until you go in the inside. And right now it's fairly gutted, but you can see the potential there. And one of the issues was what we gonna do about those high ceilings? How are you gonna heat that place? So that's why they decided to do 2-story units up there, as I remember correctly. So, you really can't judge it until you see it. Because I was impressed. I was a little skeptical when I saw the inside. I said, wow, this is gonna be beautiful, and it can work. So then when you said you're doing a site visit and you didn't need to go inside, that's why I mentioned you definitely go
Well,
inside.
no, it's good. Usually it all depends on the property,
Right.
whether we go inside or
Yeah.
not. But yeah, if we go inside, I mean, it'd be nice to see it. It
Yeah.
doesn't, none of the stuff that we're permitting really has anything to do with the inside of the building.
Right.
which is
Yep.
Something we constantly have to remind city councilors as we're
Right.
going through these processes that, whereas we might have a wish list of things we would like to do to
Right.
property, it's not necessarily something we can do. I would ask about the front pavement area. Is it practical at all to think about pervious pavement in the front? I mean, I don't know that it makes any difference, but
Like a hard surface that is permeable.
it allows, it basically allows grass and stuff to grow through it so that it has a.
You're not talking about stone dust, right? You're talking
No, I'm
about
talking about there's
like
pavement.
pavers.
Permeable asphalt. We could do, we may entertain pavers or something, yeah.
But I mean, that's not, I don't think that's really up to us to decide. Is it? Maybe we could. I don't know. I'll have to check. it
Well,
out.
you, I believe you can condition special permits.
Yeah, I know, but they have to be within reason.
Right, true,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all
Can we
right.
Go over,
You wanna
that?
go over what?
yeah,
What
do
do
you
wanna go
mind,
over?
do you mind? I'd just like to make sure that we get that in the record.
What are we getting in the record?
The date that, the city clerk
Oh, yeah,
received it.
I was gonna go
and-
over that at the end,
Okay.
but yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, because we have to talk about the.
You can use my screen if you want.
You want me to stop sharing?
Sure. Yeah, so the people. So the crowds that are watching us on.
Yeah.
So look at us.
So many folks.
Is there anybody on?
No, there's the Kevin Bartlett, I'm assuming is with you. Barrett, excuse me.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, is there anybody else? No, there's not. So, yep, what do you want me to say? The city clerk received the application on February 8th, 2025.
Yep.
We have to have a, public hearing, advertised by April 9th, I believe. So that'll do. And my guess is that we're gonna do a site visit on Friday. We'll come back to the, March 5th meeting. Dylan will have watched this meeting before then, so you can participate. We will have any questions that were brought up at the site visit, answered and questions the council answered. And then we'll take a vote for a recommendation to the city council, and we'll at the same time advertise for public hearing.
Any idea when it'll be, when the council meeting would be?
If we have it, on, the 5th, if we stay in line, right, if nothing comes up that's
Right.
weird, the expectation would be on the 11th of March.
11th of March?
But that'd be for the referral and for the, so it wouldn't be the public hearing, wouldn't be the 11th of
Well, the
March.
referral already happened, right? To-
No, but I mean, our recommendation will come.
Oh, so you make your recommendation then?
And
Yeah.
to plan for the public hearing. My guess would be the public hearing would be closer to the 25th of March, wouldn't be we wouldn't have, unless we tell them to advertise it right away.
Right.
Yeah, I don't, on the face of it, I don't see anything hanging up this particular, there's nothing.
No,
overt.
but just for your information, which I think is helpful. Our process is, we always pause after, most of the time we pause after we hear the intro. So we can go to the site. And then we can only ask very detailed questions. We can't deliberate because we would be a quorum of our subcommittee. So we can ask questions. And then what we do is when we come back here in 2 more weeks,
We go through that.
we would go through the questions. So the public would have the opportunity to hear what we asked. And they would be caught up to listening to what the answers are. And so that's what the process is. And then on that day, typically, if everything else is kosher, we will make a recommendation on the permit. And then that's when we specifically talk about what the date is.
Mhm.
Based on the amount of time that we need to give the Gloucester Daily and all that.
And you can answer all the questions while we're there. We'll take notes. on that, but
Right.
We're gonna go back over them.
Exactly, and
Oh, you'll be there too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
definitely.
so, I guess the only, a little bit of a hiccup would be that this public hearing, this, site visit, which is designed really only for city council. But typically, we've allowed any abutters to join us if
Mhm.
they'd like. You remember what we did at East Main Street?
Oh, yeah.
We had quite a crowd.
Yeah, we
We
certainly
had
did.
videographer. Who was there.
Oh, yeah.
I vividly remember that. But, so that's basically, so it's kind of a short time frame from now until Friday at, 2 o'clock to, but I notice a lot of these people are locals and they live where they are, so I don't know if you would call them or just drop a flyer off, just saying
Yeah.
you're encouraged to come,
Yeah,
but just, and then you could also let them know that all the answers, all the questions that we ask, we won't be deliberating, all the
Mhm.
questions that we ask will be returned to P and D. And we could just say what the next date is of P and D.
Mhm.
So if they wanna zoom in or listen to the answers, then if they miss it, they won't feel like they're missing out on.
Just for the record, obviously, we did send out on the 11th or 12th, I think it was, the notice of this meeting.
Right.
Right.
So that's great. So hopefully people will watch it,
Mhm.
right? That's the benefit of Zoom.
Yep.
So I'm comfortable with what we learned tonight. This is my neighborhood. I was the Ward 4 city councilor for 8 years, so I know that place quite well, and we just had a lost dog right in that little territory a week ago, and we were on that street right in front of the church for about an hour trying to slow down the traffic, because the dog wouldn't come, because it was scared.
Is that turkey still blocking the road down there?
The turkeys are everywhere.
On Washington Street, they kept coming out.
Yeah, so anyway, so I'm comfortable.
Okay,
Yeah.
one of the things we should talk about is so we don't get hung up on this at the city council level, is the quantum of vote.
Mhm.
I've asked Suzanne to weigh in on this, but my understanding based on 20 Main Street
Mhm.
conditions, which was very similar
Right.
in terms of what was being asked for.
Yep.
It's a 5 vote.
I think this is a 6, I think. Because the 5 is only if you have a certain number of affordable, I believe, and in a certain distance to the with the
Multifamily.
railroad.
Oh, you might be right. That's,
Yeah.
I've asked her to weigh in on this. so I'm
Yeah,
gonna-
I believe it's still the
I think you might be
supermajority.
Right, I forgot about the
That's my
the
understanding.
distance from
Yeah, yeah.
the train station, yeah.
I mean, it's a new law, that's my understanding, but
Yeah, but
Obviously,
we'll
Suzanne
have
can weigh in.
Suzanne weigh in and clarify it, for sure.
Okay.
So I didn't think about the distance from the train station. All right, so we have Friday at 2 o'clock at 964 Washington Street, will be the public, will not be the public, will be the site visit.
Can we
Again,
make, oh, go ahead.
public is welcome to attend. I don't know how you feel about the members of the public going into the building. That's up to you in terms of liability issues. We can ask that they not, obviously, it's, if it's not safe or whatever, Val and I are expendable. But Dylan's not.
I'll wear a
though.
hard hat.
Yeah.
Dylan's too young, he's not
Well,
exposed.
there's like
Yeah.
there's like an altar area that has
Well-
an open area.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Just
I mean, I
wanna
could put some.
be mindful of that.
Yeah.
You can decide on that. It's up
Well,
to
I'll
you.
wear flat
Put some
shoes.
railings up or something.
So, and are you going to invite the counselors? Because we're not gonna have an opportunity to.
Yeah,
talk to them.
I'll send an email tonight.
Okay, great.
So it doesn't have to be noticed.
No,
So.
no.
Yeah, just real quick, what are you asking me to do something proactive with the neighbors? Notice
Well, I
wise?
just think it would be a nice gesture,
Mhm.
because like I said, typically, there's a document that's
Yep.
passed around or sent certified, or not even certified, just a letter to the
Yeah.
houses.
Yeah.
But where we have a quick turnaround
Yeah.
of 2 days,
Okay.
maybe flyers or,
Okay.
or calls. if
Just a
people-
heads up.
Yeah, just a heads up. It's
Okay.
not a big deal, and just
Yeah.
remind them
Okay.
that,
If people are noticed that it's, we don't, not legally required to be noticed, but if people know about it, they're
Mhm.
less likely to be upset if they
Right.
can't make it.
Right, and these aren't public meetings,
Right.
this is a site visit,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
that's it. So, yeah,
Can I ask a question, just to get this straight, so February 21st is Friday, correct?
that's correct.
The site visit, so March 5th, you will meet again,
Yes,
do your recommendation to city council.
yes.
That, then on March 11th, city council will do its meeting on it, is that how this?
No,
will work?
no, it won't be. That would be the first. In fact, we don't even have to bring it up in the meeting. We would just have a motion to advertise for public hearing at the city, at the site, at the planning development we can do that. And we'll just
Right,
schedule it.
and typically the city clerk will tell us what the
What
date is that we can, the earliest possible date with the amount of time that we have to have things posted in the newspaper and based on the newspaper's deadline. And then also that our council president is okay with accommodating that at that meeting, which
My,
is,
my guess is it would not be before the 25th of March, which is the meeting after our next meeting.
Yeah.
But it has to, we have to have it on, we have to have it scheduled by, well, we're supposed to have it by April 9th, but obviously we can continue as necessary, but
Yeah.
again, I don't anticipate that being necessary. So yeah, so that's it.
All right.
All right,
Motion.
anything else? We're all good? All right,
motion to adjourn.
so moved, all in favor?
Aye.
Great,
Thank you.
thanks for coming, let's
No
turn
problem,
everything
thank
up here. Scott?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sal.
Thank you, no.